Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. I am the CHALL from Chal Sport, your YouTube sporting network, and today I'm going to be reviewing last night's amazing pay-per-view, WWE Hell in a Cell, aka the Devil's Personal Playground. Now I'm going to be going through individual matches, each of the individual matches, and the couple of backstage segments as well, and reviewing them. Now this is how it's going to work. The matches will be reviewed out of 10 stars, and the backstage segments will be reviewed out of 5 stars. So before we get started, make sure you do like the video if you loved it, comment down below your thoughts and opinions, subscribe if you're new around here, click the notification bell so you never miss a YouTube video, and for now, let's get into match number 1. So match number 1 was the triple threat women's title match, the WWE Raw Women's Championship match. Bianca Belair defending against Asuka and big time Becky Lynch. Now, I have taken notes on each of the matches, so here it is. So first of all, I want to say that Becky Lynch definitely brought a load of aggression in that match. Definitely the cheap heel moves, the constant dragging the other women out of the ring to get the cheap pinfall, getting the 2 count didn't work. And I thought it was great how it ended, the way that Bianca just got that, just shoved her out of the ring and got the pinfall herself for the 3 count. It was just poetic justice after all the times that Becky threw her and Asuka out of the ring for a cheap 2 count pinfall. But Becky definitely brought her own aggression to the ring. I think she definitely brought a different kind of aggression to the ring. And, Becky definitely came with a lot of fight in that night. But the Queen of Strikes in that match has to go to Asuka. The sharp, quick, aggressive, offensive strikes, the great combinations of strikes and maneuvers. Asuka definitely, for me, was, I would say, the more polished out of the 3 athletes in terms of the combinations and the sharpness of strikes and maneuvers. I'd say Asuka was the more polished of the 3, but I think all 3 women did a fantastic job. Bianca Belair brought an amazing show of strength in that match. One particular moment was the marching suplex. I definitely felt that was one of the particular moments where she was definitely showing off her athleticism, her strength, and showing what kind of an amazing athlete Bianca is. And the athleticism was remarkable as well from Bianca Belair overall. Now the double ankle lock was a standout moment from Asuka. I think that was a good show of strength from Asuka to do a double ankle lock, and the way they sort of connected with it and made it look very, very fascinating. I think it was a great spot by all 3 women. There was a great set of near falls and 2.5 count breakups throughout the match. You know, there was quite a lot of those throughout the match. They were placed in the right moments. There was standout moment, then the near fall, standout moment, and the near fall. There was a great combination of standout moments and near 2.5 count falls throughout the match. So they were greatly placed. It was gracefully executed, and the transitions of the standout moments and the near falls were greatly done as well. It was a really good match overall. All 3 women showed determination, passion, and Bianca, with the final count, retains the women's title. So out of 10 stars, I'm going to give that match a 9-star rating. I think that was one of, if arguably the best match of the night. The other best match is yet to come, which I'll review later in the show. But overall, praise to Bianca, praise to Becky, praise to Asuka. There is no shame in losing this match because all 3 women did an exceptional job. So let's move on to our next segment on the pay-per-view. So the next pay-per-view segment was a backstage segment involving MVP, Omos, and Cedric Alexander. Now, Cedric was getting the brunt of it during this segment. Some savage lines, including the hurt business being finished remarks from MVP. Saying it's done, leave it alone, get it out of your head. The hurt business is done and it's never ever coming back. And then Omos delivering that line at the end is near, and just great chemistry between the 3 backstage. So out of 5 in that segment, I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars because, of course, like we said, the backstage segments will be rated out of 5 stars rather than 10. So I'm going to give that one 3 out of 5. It was above average. It was a decent segment. So let's get into the match which played out of this segment, which the 2-on-1 handicap match between Bobby Lashley and Omos and MVP. So this is your second match of the night, Bobby Lashley versus Omos, the Nigerian Giant, and of course Mr. 305 himself, the most valuable player, Montel Vontavious Porter, MVP. Now, this one was a great match as well. I think it was a decent match. So MVP playing the cowardly heel character, but still having that strength on the night. I think MVP did show some good wrestling skills in the match. Omos, being the giant he is, showing the strength and the determination to get up no matter what. I think Omos, in my opinion, dominated that match. I think Bobby Lashley had his moments. His relentlessness was incredible. But then there was the thing right at the end, Cedric Alexander's face turn. And I did say on Twitter, and people who've seen my Twitter post during the night know what I'm talking about and will back me that I'm telling the truth here. I said before this match started, I would like to see a Cedric Alexander face turn. And that's exactly what we got. Alexander face turn, getting involved in the match, sort of giving the distraction, and then Bobby Lashley ended up getting the win anyway. But then what Bobby Lashley did at the end of the match was interesting. He goes to the fan who holds up a replica WWE title belt, gets it from the fan before giving it back, parades it around pointing to the gold. So it sounds to me that we're possibly looking into the future here at a potential feud between Bobby Lashley and the tribal chief, the head of the table, Roman Reigns, and possibly even the whole bloodline as well. Maybe, just maybe, Bobby Lashley, Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin, they become the Hurt Business without MVP, and then Roman Reigns and the Usos as the bloodline. Maybe we're having a Hurt Business bloodline feud at some point in the future. Maybe that's what we're linking towards here, with Bobby Lashley possibly getting a title run. But it should be interesting to see where this goes. I hope Lashley gets a good title run, because obviously he was a former WWE champion with MVP as manager. From the Omos side of things, I think MVP and Omos will get back to their best. I think, you know, Omos as the dominating giant combined with MVP's crafty leadership and his managerial prowess creates a really powerful partnership, and I think that Omos, hopefully, fingers crossed, should get a push at some point. And I think it played very, very well with the crowd, the result of the match. You know, Bobby Lashley picking up the win over the two with the help of Cedric Alexander, and, you know, I think it definitely played well with the crowd and the reaction from the crowd, because Bobby Lashley was getting a huge pop at his entrance over in Chicago, and I think that played very well with the results. So I think the result played to the crowd response to Lashley at the start of the match. So I think that, you know, I think it definitely was a good result in the end. I think Bobby Lashley probably deserved to win that one. So out of 10 stars, I'm going to give it 5. It wasn't the greatest match ever, but it was okay. It was at least okay. So it wasn't at all bad, in my opinion. Let's get into our next match then. Is Ezekiel Elias? Let's find out. So this was a rivalry match between KO, Kevin Owens, and Ezekiel, Elias's younger brother. Interesting. So first of all, got to say, Kevin Owens was really fired up in his entrance, and right at the start, he was absolutely fired up for this one. Now, at the start of the match, it felt like we almost had a squash match finish after a quick high knee and an elbow drop from the top rope from Ezekiel. There was one poorly timed moment, though, in the match, and it was a 1-2. It was a clear 2. It was nowhere near a 2.5 count before the kick out. And Kevin Owens just shouts to the referee, it was a 3. No, it wasn't. I think that was a poorly timed shout by Kevin Owens. If it was one of the near falls where it was 1, 2, and then kicks out like 2 3/4, then maybe he could have said it was a 3, ref. So I think that moment was kind of poorly timed in my opinion, but I can see why Kevin Owens was doing that. You know, trying to play the heel move, trying to convince the ref it was a 3, even though it was a clear 2. I can see why he was doing it at that moment, but I just think it was poor timing, to be perfectly honest. But Ezekiel busted open after being thrown to that steel post. I think it was cool that Ezekiel was busted open. Shows the determination of Ezekiel, and you know, it was a great comeback from Ezekiel. He was fired up for it. He came back into the match, but overall at the end, you know, Kevin Owens with the win. And yeah, I think Kevin Owens just sort of pointing out every now and then throughout the match that, you know, I'm not the liar, Ezekiel's the liar, he's Elias, he's this and that. And you know, I think it's going to be interesting to see how this rivalry develops. Do I think the rivalry's over? I really don't think it is at all. I think Kevin Owens and Ezekiel will go on until the next, maybe till the next pay-per-view or two. But overall, you know, I think that Kevin Owens definitely deserved the win on that one. I think he was better on the night. So out of 10, I'm going to go for 4 stars. I think, again, it was just, you know, average match. You know, nothing outstanding. But, you know, the wrestling skills were good. I think the wrestling skills throughout the night was good as well. So, you know, I think the wrestling skills were good. But as a standout match, just didn't stand out for me. So let's get into our next match. It's time for Judgment Day to face Styles, Balor, and Morgan. So this is the 3v3 mixed trio tag match. Judgment Day, consisting of the leader Edge and Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley, his disciples, against the phenomenal AJ Styles, the Prince Finn Balor, and Liv Morgan. Now, first of all, I've got to point out the entrance to Judgment Day is so cool, so cool. You know, they just keep getting stronger and stronger each and every month that passes by since this trio has been created. And, you know, it's obviously started off as a team with just Edge and Priest, then Ripley came in at WrestleMania Backlash. I think the trio as a whole, I think the dynamics work very, very well together. I think that Ripley, Priest, and Edge just sort of play off each other. Now, fun fact, Rhea Ripley's costume was not exactly going to be her costume going into this pay-per-view. It turns out it was sort of last minute, throw whatever we can on her, kind of what we got. And she actually revealed that on Twitter. So to say that it was a last minute costume, fair play, Rhea Ripley. It was a good looking costume. Damian Priest rocking the jacket, rocking the wear. Edge with his attire looks amazing, sort of like a dark cult twist on the Edge tights. You know, I think it was a really cool move. And then the entrances of Morgan, Styles, and Balor, I think they were pretty cool as well. You know, shout out to Finn Balor, repping the UK as well as Becky Lynch tonight. You know, I think, you know, again, I think Balor, Styles, and Morgan rocked it. Liv Morgan's wrestling skills, by the way, in this match were amazing to watch. Definitely amazing from Liv Morgan's point of view. And she did tease, I think, on the night after the pay-per-view had finished, like a picture of her with the Money in the Bank briefcase with the little eyes emoji, I think it was. And we're sort of getting a hint that maybe Liv Morgan's going to be involved in either qualifying or be involved in the Women's Money in the Bank ladder match this year at the pay-per-view in Las Vegas. So I can't wait to see if Liv Morgan's going to hopefully become Miss Money in the Bank. I really hope she does, because I think Liv Morgan deserves a push. She's been really improving over the last few months, and she's really gotten over with the fans. So I hope this is just going to push. And Styles on the night was brilliant. He did gush blood on his head really, really big towards the end of that match when Edge sort of threw him into that post. I think it was pretty much head first. And it was literally, he was gushing blood throughout the end of that match while on the floor when Judgment Day picked up the win. So I think Styles overall, you know, fair play to him, took the gushing of the blood like a man. And, you know, obviously we knew Styles were not, we kind of had an inkling as to why Styles weren't going to get involved in the end of that match and when Balor was getting finished off, shall we say. And now we know why. He was gushing blood badly. I think sort of towards the start of the match when Judgment Day was dominating the upper half against Balor, I think they were really using that classic tag team strategy to wear down the opposition, cutting the ring in half metaphorically, and just sort of using their sort of half of the ring, their corner to corner of the ring, where they tag, and sort of keeping them in that end and sort of keeping away from Styles and Morgan. So I think that was pretty cool. I think they used their in-ring skills and their in-ring know-how very well. Definitely Ripley and Priest learning from the Rated R Superstar, in my opinion. Styles on Edge, great striking combinations. AJ Styles, I've always said, is a great striker in wrestling, and you know, he's got a great striking ability. He's a great all-rounder with the strength, the agility, the athleticism, the striking especially, and he definitely played that really, really well. But when Ripley slowly walked in front of Edge to prevent Finn Balor's coup de grace, that was a great dramatization when Rhea Ripley just slowly walks in. He's like, no, 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 not today, not tonight. That was a great moment, sort of the beginning of the end kind of thing. And you know what? Judgment Day's been really unstoppable these past couple of months. And I might as well just give up and join the movement. I officially joined the Judgment Day. I think most people would. So yeah, overall, great match, and I'd be a huge fan of this. So out of 10 stars, I'm going to give it 7. I think it was definitely a standout match, not the standout match or one of the 2 standout matches of the night, but overall, good result and a great match. I think everyone did very, very well in that match. So let's get to our next backstage segment. So the second and last backstage segment was between Cedric and Bobby after the handicap match result. So Lashley and Alexander with a very much a sign of respect to each other, with a friendly warning about interfering in more of Bobby's matches. So that was quite a nice, funny bit in the segment. And Bobby said for Cedric to stand on his own 2 feet in WWE. I'm hoping this is a metaphorical sort of look forward as to what Cedric could do in the future. I really hope he either goes to SmackDown, has like an Intercontinental title run with Ricochet, or maybe goes for the US title. But from what John Cena said on Instagram with the caption of the boot on the US title with the eyes, it sounds like maybe John Cena's going to go for that US title against Austin Theory, which I'll go on to a bit more later on with Austin Theory. But yeah, I think yeah, it sounds like Cedric Alexander maybe hopefully should get either a nice rivalry or maybe an Intercontinental title push. So either Alexander goes to SmackDown or he'll stay on Raw and get like a nice rivalry. Or like I said, maybe him, Shelton and Bobby hurt business, and then you have a rivalry with the Bloodline in a few months maybe. Maybe that's what they're leading to. So who knows. But let's get into our next match, and it's Madcap Moss and Happy Corbin in a no-holds-barred match. So Madcap Moss versus Happy Corbin, no holds barred. A very nice aggressive start to this particular match. Blow for blow inside and outside of the ring from the 2 competitors. One of the big things about this match was the crowd wanted the table, but then Corbin keeps a couple of times about to bring it out and then just shoves it back under the ring and then grabs a chair instead. I thought that was playing up to the crowd like a proper heel. That was a brilliant heel move a few times by Corbin. And there was a heavy emphasis on chairs, especially paying homage to earlier moments in the storyline on past SmackDowns. And he still teased the crowd about the table at this point. So, it was a great heel move by Corbin. And, there was moments where Corbin was on top. There was moments where Moss was on top and getting back into it. And, there was a brilliant offensive aggression from Corbin. So I had Madcap Moss with a steel chair wrapped around his head and wrapped through the head and the neck, and whipping him into the front of the table, like the front part of the table, sort of bouncing off it. And I thought that was a great move, a nice extreme move from Corbin. But the way the match ended was so poetic, and I think definitely the right way to end it. Steel steps to a grounded Corbin with a chair stuck around his neck. Just a repeat of a couple of SmackDowns ago. What happened the opposite way around? We're different objects, and Madcap getting his revenge on Happy Corbin for the 1, 2, 3. And like I said, I think overall they used the outside and the inside of the ring quite well. Definitely played up to the crowd with the table teasing, and overall I think this is a decent match. So I think 5 out of 10 is a fair score for this one. And very, very happy with that. Well done to Madcap Moss. Hopefully, fingers crossed, he does get a push from this. But do I think the Corbin rivalry is over? I reckon it might be. I mean, there was teasing during SmackDowns of him being like the lone wolf and Baron Corbin being the lone wolf because he huffs and puffs and sends Madcap Moss to an ambulance. So hopefully with Happy Corbin going out on a stretcher, hopefully this means they're going to reinvent Happy Corbin, or should I say Baron Corbin, back into the resurgence of the Lone Wolf. So maybe this pushes Baron Corbin back into the Lone Wolf character. And maybe he goes on an Intercontinental title run with Ricochet. Maybe he goes for the IC title. So it should be interesting. Or maybe Madcap Moss goes for a title run now. Of course, he is the winner of the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal at previous WrestleMania. So, Madcap Moss has definitely got huge potential. I'd like to see his name change back to Riddick Moss. I'll be perfectly honest. I'd like to see him go back to Riddick Moss. or something new, or maybe something new, maybe something different to Reddit Moss, but definitely not Madcap Moss. I think Madcap maybe is a good nickname, or maybe an okay nickname, sort of like Madcap, like man off his cap kind of thing. But I'd like to see his first name changed again, something different. But yeah, hopefully Moss does get a push from this. But let's go into our penultimate match of the night. I've pretty much spoiled it anyway, but Theory does retain the US title against Mustafa Ali, and here is why. So Austin Theory retains the title against Mustafa Ali. First of all, hometown entrance from Mustafa Ali in Chicago. Great hometown reception from Mustafa Ali. And I think the result definitely played to the crowd and definitely played well to the reactions, really hating on Austin Theory for winning the match. And, you know, I think that really played well. Great athleticism and combination of maneuvers from both men to start the match. When Austin Theory's on top, he definitely plays up to it, plays to Mustafa Ali, you know, the you think you're better than me kind of thing. You know, showing off that he's the protege, he's the future, he's the number one, he's this, that, and the other. And, you know, Austin played to the crowd very, very well with this. And, you know, I praise Theory for that. And I praise Mustafa Ali for doing the face stuff really, really well. Austin Theory did the heel stuff well. Mustafa Ali did the face stuff very, very well. You know, hometown boy, hometown match, hometown title opportunity. And, you know, really the crowd getting on his side, getting on Theory's back, Theory playing up to it. It was definitely the classic face versus heel in the face's hometown kind of thing. So, you know, they did very, very well with that. One of the standout matches was Theory's successful modified Spanish fly straight into a bit of ground and pound. I thought that was a really fabulous maneuver. It was sort of like what the opponent was like kneeling off the end of the post, and like Theory just went up and stepped up into a modified Spanish fly, like a mini Spanish fly off the top, and you know, into a bit, and it sort of landed perfectly because he was like knees either side of the body, ready for a bit of ground and pound. So, you know, I think it landed perfectly as well. So I think Austin Theory did well with that maneuver, and Ali did very, very well to execute and sell that move. There was a great counter of the A-Town into an STF by Mustafa Ali. I think that was another great moment. You know, Austin Theory had him up for that A-Town, and then he sort of swung him round and sort of stalled, and then sort of got him down into that STF with a nice bit of transitioning and flowing transition going on between the maneuvers and the transition of movements. And, you know, Ali did very, very well with that. I think Ali sort of used that hurt knee as the weak spot. I think as soon as he sort of damaged that knee a bit, when he sort of backflipped off the top and sort of landed, then tried super kicking him off as Theory dived off the top, and sort of a collision that hurt the other knee. I think Theory used the knees as the weak spot with the chop block, and, you know, getting him ready into that A-Town, and after that A-Town, it was done and dusted, and, you know, using that knee to his advantage, definitely. So, good title defense from Theory. Sad that Ali didn't get the title, but I don't think this rivalry is done by an absolute long shot, so I'm going to go for a 4 out of 10, and maybe this is building up to maybe a SummerSlam match between John Cena and Austin Theory for the title. Who knows? So, we will see, but let's go into our final match now. And oh boy, what a main event. So this was the main event of the evening. Only one Hell in a Cell match in a pay-per-view called Hell in a Cell. I don't know about that. Maybe we'd like to see some more Hell in a Cell matches in future Hell in a Cell pay-per-views, but that's just my opinion. The American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes against Seth Freakin Rollins. What a match this was. What a match. First of all, the hush around the arena when he took off his jacket, Cody Rhodes, and showed that torn pectoral muscle, or that tear in the pectoral muscle. God, to go out there and do the match that he did with that injury, I think Triple H must have been watching that with a tear in his eye. I think someone put that on Twitter, and I was like, you know what, I need to quote that. So shout out to whoever tweeted that. Triple H must have a tear in his eye, because he was showing off his pectoral injury at one point, and you could see the bruising around it. It was definitely not makeup. It was absolutely a real injury. And, you know, I don't know how long Cody Rhodes will be injured for now, but mate, how he won that match was unbelievable. I mean, first of all, it started... This match, how great it was, started off at the entrance, and that was Seth Rollins' entrance. He came out flung off the jacket wearing the yellow and black, the yellow polka dots on the black shirt and the tights and that, paying homage to the late great American Dream Dusty Rhodes, who's Cody's proud father. Like, to pay homage to Dusty Rhodes, but also just slate Cody Rhodes by really taunting him with this. It was just the perfect heel move. Reminded me of Reigns versus Rollins at Royal Rumble at the start of the year, when Seth Rollins came out in the Shield theme with the Shield attire on. My God, my flaming God, Seth Rollins has played this heel move perfectly well. But when Cody came out, he was fired up big time. The crowd was on his side. You could see how much he wanted this. You could see he was going out and not even bothered about an injury. He wanted to give the crowd their hard-earned money and why they came to watch the pay-per-view. And they did exactly that. I think Seth immediately worked on that pectoral muscle injury as a weak spot for Cody Rhodes. We all knew that from the start. I think we all knew that that was going to be Seth's target going into this match. Then at one point, Seth wore Cody's jacket and brought out a Dusty Rhodes coloured themed belt and began whipping Rhodes with it. Just the ultimate heelage from Seth Rollins in this match was unbelievable. There was one particular funny moment when Seth brought out a table and the crowd goes, "Thank you, Rollins." That was a great moment, because obviously the crowd was being teased in the Corbin match with the table a few times. And, you know, when that table finally came out, the "Thank you, Rollins" just made me laugh, because it was like, finally the table comes out tonight. After the crowd just started chanting at the Corbin match, "We want table, we want table." Just wow, just unbelievable. That was a funny moment. Then sort of around halfway through, it became a bit of a bull rope match, a bull rope in a cell match, where you know, classic Rhodes, you know, the bull rope, and you know, I thought that sort of piece of the story of the match was good with the bull rope, and they sort of played well with that. The buckle bomb from Rollins to Rhodes into the table was perfectly executed, in my opinion. Definitely a well executed move. The fold of the table over and under Cody was spot on. I think the sledgehammer coming out from Rollins was very symbolic. Obviously, he's the Kingslayer. He's faced Triple H multiple times. But Cody's pedigree, Cody hitting the pedigree on Seth Rollins, was a symbolic standout moment as well. That was a moment, a real moment. And then, obviously, the crossroads from Rollins, but then Rhodes just recovered straight away and delivered his own crossroads. But then, at the end of the match, the exclamation shot with the sledgehammer from Cody Rhodes to get in the 1, 2, 3. That was very symbolic. If you've watched All Elite Wrestling AEW, you know Cody Rhodes used the sledgehammer to hit this throne at a pay-per-view entrance with Brandy, and you know, we saw, I think it was towards the end of the, I think it was at the end of the match, I think. You know, Cody, you know, sort of used the sledgehammer and breaks this throne at the top of the stage, and, you know, that was a very symbolic, as sort of like, this is my kingdom now. I think Rhodes using that sledgehammer to hit Rollins was definitely an exclamation point and definitely a standout moment for me. So out of stars, I mean, it's a very easy one for me. 9 out of 10. Definitely up there with the 3 women at the start of the match, Bianca, Becky and Asuka, with the championship as the top 2 matches. If I had to pick a top match, I'd probably say the 3 women at the, I think probably Bianca, Becky and Asuka at the start was probably the best match of the night, but only by a slight, because I think Rhodes and Rollins absolutely killed it on the night in the Hell in a Cell main event. You know, I think even with a pectoral muscle, Cody went out there and absolutely tore the house down. Seth Rollins playing the perfect heel moves, wearing the Dusty attire, bringing out the Dusty belt, you know, just playing the ultimate heel tricks, man. I think Seth Rollins plays a heel exceptionally well. Is this the end of the Rhodes-Rollins feud? I don't believe it is. I think Rollins will come again. There'll be a part 4 at Money in the Bank. But, again, it depends on Rhodes' injury, because I don't think that's going to be a short-term injury. I think that might be a long-term injury, but we never know. So let's finally sum up my thoughts on Hell in a Cell and review the pay-per-view out of 10 stars as a whole. There we are, ladies and gentlemen, wrestling fans of all ages. That is your review of each individual match and segment for WWE Hell in a Cell 2022. Now, overall, like I said, I think the wrestling skills on show on that night were fantastic. Like I said, I think Becky, Bianca, Asuka, Cody, and Seth absolutely stole the show. They all brought the house down with their individual matches. And, you know, I think the crowd reacted to the results very, very well. If it was a heel winning, they were right on their back, especially in the theory match. Bobby, with the crowd on his side in the handicap match, you know, he definitely was the right result, getting the crowd on side. And, you know, I'd be interested to see where that one goes next, and where Bobby goes next. I think overall, I think it was just a great night. I think it was a great night of wrestling, and I think there was some nice spots here and there in each match that sort of made it stand out in its own way. So, out of 10 for the pay-per-view overall, I'm going to give it 8 stars out of 10. I think it wasn't world class, but I think it was a great pay-per-view, a really great pay-per-view. And definitely in terms of wrestling skills and wrestling abilities, arguably the best pay-per-view WWE's had this year so far in terms of wrestling skills. So for me, I think it delivered in terms of wrestling. In terms of theatrics and cinematics, I think it was good. I think it was decent. So overall, you know, I'm satisfied as a neutral watcher of this sport. But thank you very much, guys, for watching this video. Make sure you do like, comment, subscribe. And for now, I am the CHALL from Chal Sports, and that is full time. Thank you very much.